Much of the world watched in horror as the Taliban cemented its takeover of Afghanistan this week. But in darker corners of the internet, far-right extremists, including Donald Trump supporters, white nationalists, and neo-Nazi terror groups, which often push Islamophobic messages, celebrated the fact that an under-equipped insurgent group could defeat a great power, and one commanded by a democratic president. Now experts are warning that the scenes of the past week in the failed US-led 20-year war in the country will likely be used by such extremists as recruitment tools to push misinformation, grow their ranks, and fuel organizing. The political backlash from the US troop withdrawal has been leveraged by white nationalists to support their claim of the illegitimacy and ineptitude of the Biden administration, as well as calls to reinstate Donald Trump as president. Sarah Kamali, a scholar and author of Homegrown Hate: Why White Nationalists and Militant Islamists Are Waging War Against the United States, told BuzzFeed News in written comments. One such white nationalist is Nick Fuentes, a 23-year-old vlogger and anti-Semite who cheered on the Jan. 6 attack on the Capitol and has an ally and Republican Rep. Paul Gosar of Arizona. Seemingly praising the Taliban as a conservative, religious force, Fuentes told his 42,000 subscribers on Telegram on Monday, "The defeat of the US government in Afghanistan is unequivocally a positive development." Islamophobia has been weaponized by white nationalists like Fuentes for recruitment and propaganda, making his support for the Taliban's militant Islamist worldview all the more intriguing. But Kamali said it's notable because he is reifying the white nationalist narrative of victimhood by supporting that of militant Islamists, specifically as mutual targets of American government aggression. This shared narrative of victimhood, in turn, sanctions the war many white nationalists view themselves as fighting against the US government, people of color, and immigrants to be holy, righteous, and necessary, she added.
In April, President Joe Biden set a goal to withdraw troops from Afghanistan before the 20th anniversary of the Sept. 11 terror attacks that drew the U.S. into the country's longest war. In the months following, Biden said the collapse of the Afghan government and military was unlikely to happen as quickly as it did this week, even though U.S. spy agencies were warning privately that the outlook was grim. Then, one by one over the past week, Taliban fighters seized cities and government buildings, finally taking the presidential palace in Kabul on Sunday after President Ashraf Ghani fled the country. The only territory not under the Taliban's control is a section of the Kabul airport, where the US and other Western nations are frantically trying to evacuate thousands of desperate Afghans scrambling to flee the Islamist insurgents. Meanwhile, on Telegram and other encrypted social media apps, extremists like Fuentes watched with excited anticipation as the Biden administration's debacle seemed to grow worse by the hour and the Taliban tightened its grip on Afghanistan. To be honest, the Taliban is epic, wrote a far-right vlogger associated with a violent neo-Nazi group who was at the Jan. 6 Capitol riot, in a post on Telegram on Monday that has since been viewed more than 20,000 times. The US had to invade in the early 2000s and stay over 20 years, spending $1 trillion and dozens of American lives to hold them back. As soon as we left, the Taliban takes over the whole country in like 12 hours. LMAO. Dozens of similar posts were shared by various extremist groups and figures, and while still praising the Taliban, their racism, hate of the Middle East, and anti-Semitic views were readily apparent. "I think Islam is poisonous," began a post in a Telegram channel linked to the neo-fascist street brawling club the Proud Boys with over 50,000 subscribers, but these farmers and minimally trained men fought to take their nation back from. They took back their government, installed their national religion as law, and executed dissenters.
Hard to not respect that.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.